We tend to think of evolution as this ancient thing, dinosaurs, fossils, stuff that happened millions of years ago. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful evolutionary stories is unfolding right now? Not in some dusty museum, but inside our own bodies every single day. So meet the villain of our story. This little guy is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, but everyone just calls it MRSA. Now, the regular version of this bacteria is actually super common. A lot of us have it on our skin right now, no big deal. But this version, this is a superbug. And it's a perfect and honestly a pretty scary example of evolution on hyperspeed because it has literally learned how to fight back against the very medicines we invented to destroy it. Which brings us to the big question, right? How in the world does a tiny, single-celled organism manage to outsmart some of the most sophisticated drugs in modern medicine? Well, the answer is a process that's both beautifully simple and unbelievably powerful. To really get it, we've got to look at the problem head-on, the rise of these superbugs. Yeah, the name kind of gives it away. It's resistant to methicillin, which used to be a heavy-hitter antibiotic. And it's called an opportunistic pathogen, which means it just kind of hangs around, waiting for its chance to cause trouble. But the real reason it's become such a huge threat is right there on the screen: antibiotic overuse. Our own actions have been unintentionally training it, making it stronger. So how exactly did our actions make it stronger? Well, it all boils down to the basic engine of evolution. Let's break down what I like to call evolution's simple recipe. At the heart of it all is natural selection. And look, we all hear the phrase survival of the fittest, but it's not really some epic battle royale. It's more about how the environment, whether that's a jungle or the inside of your bloodstream, puts pressure on a population. That pressure just makes it more likely for individuals with certain helpful traits to survive and have kids. Okay, so here's how that recipe works, broken down into 4 easy steps. First up, step 1, mutation. A random little glitch happens in the DNA. This creates a new trait. Let's say, for one bacterium, it's a tiny bit of resistance to an antibiotic. Then, step 2, selection. An environmental pressure shows up. That's the antibiotic you just took. It wipes out all the normal, non-resistant bacteria. And here's the key part. Step 3, reproduction. The few lucky bacteria that survive that antibiotic, they get to multiply and they pass that resistance gene onto their kids. And finally, step 4, allele frequency. You just repeat that process for a few generations, and pretty soon that resistance gene isn't rare anymore. It becomes the new normal. The whole population has evolved. So, that's the recipe. But science is all about proof, right? How can we actually see this change happening? This is where things get really interesting. Kind of like a genetic detective story. I mean, seriously, how do scientists put a number on evolution? If a population of anything is changing, there has to be a way to measure that change genetically. And guess what? There is. It all starts with this incredibly simple, really elegant equation. Just imagine a gene that has 2 different versions. Scientists call them alleles. We just label the frequency of the dominant one P and the recessive one Q. In the entire population, the frequencies of these 2 versions have to add up to 100% of the gene pool. Or, to keep it simple, they just have to add up to 1. Okay, so that first equation tracks the alleles themselves, just sort of floating around in the population. This second equation, this is the cool one. It lets us see how those alleles actually combine in individuals. The p-squared part represents individuals with 2 copies of the dominant allele. The q-squared is for those with 2 recessive copies. And that 2pq in the middle, that's everyone with 1 of each. And just like before, all those groups together have to add up to the entire population, or 1. Now here is the absolute genius of this whole thing. This equation describes a population that's perfectly stable, a population that is not evolving at all. It's a theoretical baseline called the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Think of it like a genetic ruler. If we go out and measure a real population and its numbers don't match this baseline, bingo. We've just caught evolution in the act. All right, enough theory. Let's make this real. Let's actually put this equation to work and decode a population's DNA. We'll use a human example here. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease, and it's caused by a recessive allele. So if we know that one person in a population of 2,000 actually has the disease, can we figure out how many people are silently carrying that allele without showing any symptoms? You bet we can. Okay, first step, we find the frequency of people who have the disease. Remember our equation? These are the individuals with 2 recessive alleles. That's our q-squared group. So we just take 1 divided by 2,000, and that gives us their frequency in the population, 0.0005. That number is our Q squared. So now we have Q squared. To find the frequency of the recessive allele itself, just Q, we just have to take the square root of that number. And the square root of 0.0005 is about 0.022. Simple enough.
And this next part is super easy, because we know from that first equation that P plus Q equals 1, all we have to do to find P is subtract Q from 1, and that gives us 0.978. That's the frequency of the dominant or the non-disease allele in the population.
And now for the real detective work. We want to find the carriers, the people with one of each allele. In our equation, they are the 2pq group. So we just plug in the numbers we found, and we get a frequency of 0.043. So what do we do with that number? To find out how many actual people that is, we multiply that frequency by the total population of 2,000. And there it is. We can estimate that 86 people in that group are carriers. Think about that. One person is sick, but 86 are carrying the gene. That's the hidden genetic story that the math just revealed. So, from drug-resistant bacteria to human genetics, this stuff is fascinating. But let's bring it back home for a second and talk about why all of this really matters to you. This quote from the research really hits hard. I mean, you have to remember, some of these bacteria can reproduce in as little as 20 minutes. So when it says it doesn't take long, that is a massive understatement. We're creating evolutionary pressure that gets results in days or weeks, not thousands of years. And what is that pressure? It's us. It's things like prescribing antibiotics for a common cold or the flu, which are caused by viruses, so the antibiotics do absolutely nothing to them. And this one is huge. It's when people start feeling better and they stop taking their full prescription. That single action is a perfect selection event. It kills off all the weakest bacteria, but leaves the toughest, most resistant ones behind to multiply and take over. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. This microscopic battle that's happening, starring superbugs like MRSA, isn't taking place in a vacuum. It is a direct consequence of our big collective choices. Every single prescription, every pill we take or don't take, contributes to this global evolutionary experiment. So, you see, evolution isn't just history. It's a current event. It's happening right now, all around us and inside us. And we are the primary force that's driving it. So the question we really have to ask ourselves is, knowing all of this, what kind of future are our choices writing right now?